Welcome to our channel. In the Middle East, the Israeli army is waging a strategic and critical war against the pro-Iranian terrorist forces Hamas, Hezbollah, and Houthi rebels in the Gaza Strip, southern Lebanon, and Yemen. In addition to these regions, Israel is also fighting pro-Israel Iranian terror militias in Syria and Iraq. But the most important clash arena for the Israel Defense Forces on all these front lines is the Gaza Strip. From Gaza, Iran supports Hamas through Egypt via tunnel lines to carry out its nefarious plans against Israel. The arms smuggling route by sea is known to start from Iran and reach Yemen and then Sudan. Yemen and Sudan are on opposite sides of the Red Sea. From Sudan, trucks continue their 1,000-kilometer route through the desert to Egypt. From there, smugglers cross the Suez Canal and transport weapons through tunnels dug under the Gaza Strip with the help of Bedouins. So it is well known that smugglers routinely transport weapons from Sudan on behalf of Hamas. Other weapons supplied by Iran are transported through the Suez Canal and then secretly delivered to the frogmen in Gaza. The two most important details for Israel are the tunnel lines and the coastal areas along the Gaza Strip. In fact, the breaking point of the war in recent days has been the tunnel lines along the Gaza Strip, which are at least 500 kilometers long. For this reason, the Israeli army is deploying Heron and Hermes drones, artificial intelligence robots, and a large number of Shin Bet and Mossad special forces to completely destroy Hamas's tunnel lines in Gaza. It is a fact that among these military units are Israeli commandos. The Israeli Army's commando unit, together with the reconnaissance and advance units of the Golani Brigade, carried out a very heavy raid on Hamas targets in the Gaza Strip. The stage of the raid operation was quite striking. First, Hermes and Heron drones collected the coordinates of Hamas tunnel networks in Gaza. Israeli intelligence agencies Shin Bet and Mossad units conducted a deep study of these tunnel networks. The Israel Defense Forces said that following intelligence information obtained from a Shin Bet interrogation of a Hamas terrorist, warplanes attacked a Hamas site on the roof of a building in the Gaza Strip and a tunnel near the building. The IDF added that ground forces also clashed with gunmen in the Strip today, killing many of them, confiscating weapons and intelligence equipment, and locating tunnels. Elite commandos from the Israeli Army's most powerful battalion, Golani, took part in the operation, and the pro-Iranian militants were helpless in the face of the sudden raid. Hamas members who tried to resist the Israeli commandos were liquidated and others surrendered helplessly. Here are the very striking details of those moments. Soldiers of the Golani Battalion of the Israeli Army prepared a safe corridor for the Israeli commandos with mine clearance vehicles. The passage was ready for the Israeli commandos, but there was one last stage for the one-on-one contact. That was for the Israeli army to deploy its artificial intelligence robots and identify points to trap Hamas in its tunnel networks. For the final push, Israeli commando units advanced along the secure corridor and entered the tunnel network of the so-called Gaza subway. Israeli commando units advanced to the borders of Hamas's second tunnel line. Since the Hamas targets in the tunnel had already been discovered, the Israeli commandos did not have much difficulty to continue the operation. Israeli commandos found and conquered the Hamas stronghold in the tunnel. Following the large-scale operation, 60 pro-Iranian Hamas terrorists were reportedly eliminated from the tunnel. Numerous terror targets, including arsenals, were also destroyed. In addition, Israeli commandos later discovered the location of some of the Hamas terror tunnel exits with important intelligence they had captured. Following the increased use of artificial intelligence, the Israeli Army's offensive operations continued unabated. After the elimination of 60 Hamas terror elements, Israeli commandos discovered a secret tunnel passage in the Kfar Aza area on the Gaza border at dawn and organized a sudden dawn raid. Israeli commandos captured at least 20 terrorists from two groups, along with their ammunition. Following these operations, 100 of Hamas's tunnel networks were eliminated, and operations are still underway against hidden underground passages. This amounted to almost a fifth of Hamas's tunnel network in Gaza. In addition to destroying a significant part of Hamas's tunnel network, The Israeli army also announced that it had obtained critical information. The capture of pro-Iranian Hamas terrorists has recently infuriated Tehran's leadership. This has severely undermined the strategies of Tehran's terror proxies. Iran's logistical support has been severely affected by the Israeli army's raids on the tunnel lines in Gaza. Israel is now controlling all possible sources of support for Hamas in the tunnel lines, running from the Egyptian direction to the Gaza Strip. Iran is helpless in this regard. Realizing that this is the direction the war will take, Tehran has taken a very remarkable and critical step to publicly show its support for Hamas in Gaza. According to Iranian state media, Hamas's political bureau chief, Ismail Haniyeh, recently met with Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei in Tehran. Meanwhile, the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, a UK-based monitoring group, reported that there was also a meeting between Iranian Revolutionary Guards and Hezbollah leaders in eastern Syria. In other words, the alarm bells were ringing for Iran, and the Tehran leadership was now gathering around the emergency red table. Tehran's meetings with its terror proxies revealed the whole truth. Israel had inflicted a very painful fate on these terror proxies, and Iran was meeting with the leader of the Hamas terrorist group to plan how to deal with the aftermath. And Hezbollah was portrayed as a legitimate force that Iran should listen to. But Hezbollah has been just as responsible as Hamas for the killing of more than 1,400 Israeli residents. In particular, the evacuation of more than 40 settlements in northern Israel is the work of Iran's terror proxy group, Hezbollah. But most recently, the official national news agency reported that Israeli shelling hit the outskirts of the towns of Nakura and Labune in southern Lebanon, amid ongoing cross-border firing between Israel and Hezbollah. Tensions on the Israeli-Lebanon border have been high since the outbreak of the Hamas-Israel war last month. But with the recent speech by Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah and the subsequent IDF strike on a major Hezbollah terror cell, the clashes in northern Israel have cooled down a bit. According to sources close to Mossad, the Hezbollah terror group was going to launch a missile or other offensive operation from the terror cell that the IDF destroyed. But Israel managed to prevent this long beforehand. How is Iran responding to these failed and ineffective strategies of its terror proxies? Iranian leaders have warned that the world is approaching a regional war in the Middle East, and that Israel has crossed red lines. This could, in the words of President Ibrahim Raisi, force everyone to take action. But by trying to avoid a direct confrontation, Iran is trying to swim in very dangerous waters, blurring its red lines to avoid falling into a trap. Instead of pursuing clear strategies, Iran is relying on proxy militias from its own axis of resistance in the region to launch limited attacks against Israel and U.S. military bases in Iraq and Syria. Iran supports such resistance forces while claiming that they act independently. But how much autonomy do the resistance forces have from Iran in practice? This debate will go on forever, but we've learned a lot about how Iran acts with its network of partners. Iran empowers, supports, and guides these terror proxies, but rarely gives orders. Westerners have a problem with how they conceptualize these chains of command. Iran's partners are like young but reliable comrades in arms. Hamas and even Hezbollah do not expect direct and constant help from Iran during a clash. These terrorist forces, Iran's partners, make their decisions and seek Iran's consent. Therefore, neither Hamas nor Hezbollah is likely to do anything that Iran opposes. In short, Israel in the Gaza Strip is facing not only a huge network of tunnels, but also a threat group with a Hamas mask and Iranian terrorist policies. The same goes for northern Israel. There, too, terror elements are working under the mask of Hezbollah to fulfill Iran's terror policies. But so far, Israel has been very successful despite all these terror elements. Thank you for watching us.